Hello, here we are again, more macros on video. I've got today a new macro concept for you and an exciting one, and in a sense it's more than one concept, so I'm going to split the video up into two separate sections, one on this video and another one to follow. So the existing find and replace macros that we've got available are FRedit and multi-switch, which I hope you'll be well aware of, because they are, to me at least, they are the two most powerful macros that I have available. And today we're going to be looking at a third one, and it's FRselective. So we're dealing with selective find and replace and speeding that up. So the FRedit will help you with global find and replace, and the good point about it is that it uses a find and replace list, your list, a list that you use for any particular job. And multi-switch is topical. In other words, it doesn't go through the whole document, it only changes something at the cursor, but it too uses a list, and it looks at the list to find the particular find and replace that relates to what is at the cursor. Okay, so we're going to extend that power to selective changes, and FRselective is the name of the new macro. And again, the items are stored in a list, and this started from one of these inquiries that I love from people saying, is there a macro that does such and such? Please continue to do that, ask those. I don't mind, it's entirely my fun in dealing with it, partly because it can generate new ideas such as this whole new concept that we've got today. So the question that I was asked for was that the lady had a job which did not require serial commas, but there were some in there, and therefore she had to find them. And she asked, could it be done automatically? Could I use a macro? Well, the answer very quickly was no, sorry. Deciding what is and isn't a serial comma is very complex, and certainly beyond my capabilities, but to be fair, I think beyond the capabilities of Visual Basic. But what I said, well, I can provide you with a wildcard find so that you can search and decide which on a case-by-case basis need changing or don't need changing, and then move on to the next one. Now you can use the find and replace window for that. But I then began to wonder, well, perhaps we could semi-automate it. So the question then is, what are the elements of this series of actions that you're going to take in order to deal with these serial commas? So here's a sample find and replace window, changing this to that. What's involved? Well, you've got the find next button, which allows you to find the next occurrence of this. Then we've got the replace button, which will make one change. We don't want to replace all because we don't want to go through and change everything, so it's replace, which will then change this to that. But it doesn't just change it, it also moves on and finds the next occurrence of this. Okay, so how can macros help? Well, first of all, the find next button is actually a lot slower than doing it by a macro. So when I got the macro going for that, I realized how much faster it was, and also you haven't got the find and replace window sitting on the screen over your file where you're trying to work, and you're trying to look at the context. So macros are better from that point of view. And actually I've got 1 and 2, but there is a 0, there's something to be done before it, and that is to load the find and replace. And there again, the macros can help, because the macro can automatically load the find and replace for you. And again, it's from a list. So you have a list of find and replaces, wildcard find and replaces, ready to use for different situations. And obviously you'll have to build up your own list of those, but there is a list, there are lists available. Certainly there's one on my my website. I keep mine in my ordinary switch list that I use for multi-switch, but you can store them wherever you want. Okay, so let's see it in action. At this stage obviously don't worry about the wildcards. I'm not asking you to understand what the wildcards are doing. That's not the issue. The issue is how to work with these new macros. So first of all, we put the cursor in the find and replace with wildcard find and replace, and we run FRselective, and it jumps to the first find of a serial comma. So it's a comma followed by a word, followed by another comma, followed by and. So that's what it's searching for, and you can decide whether you need to change that or not. So if we say we do need to change it, then we can change it by using FRgo, and again we change that. Now we decide this one doesn't need changing, so we can skip it. We can skip to the next one and skip to the next one. And actually, if we want to be sure what's going on, we think, well, hang on, let's change it but not move on. Let's have a look at that. So let's make the change, and I've used FRstay, which changes the occurrence there but doesn't move you to the next, so then you can skip to the next one with FRskip. Okay, so that's it in action. So just to look at that again, what are the macros that we're actually using here? FRselective will load the find and replace that you've got there, and it will jump to the first occurrence. So if you have a look at that, at least I've coloured this vertical bar here. If you're using FRedit, then you'll recognise the sort of format in that you've got the find and the replace either side of that vertical bar. So that's the find and that's the replace, and it's ready to go, so we can run the macro, and I'll forget the right key, it will, and it takes us to the next find in the list. Okay, so we've then said that if no change is needed, we can skip. If a change is needed, then we can either choose to FRstay, or we can make the change and move on to the next one. And we said that the point of FRstay is if we want to check whether it's actually changed it in the way we wanted before we're happy to go on to the next one. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and come back, give you a chance to absorb this new concept, because FRselective has a number of other, well, two main other functionalities, so we're going to have to wait for the next exciting episode. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye now.